Welcome to the first day of Big Ten Media Days. You didn't get rid of us. Bill Landis, Tim Bielik, Doug Maurice. We're here in Chicago. Ohio State will speak on Tuesday, but half the league spoke on Monday. Tim Bielik, who is one of the stars of Monday, speaking about Big Ten football?
I'm going to go with one of the players. I'm going to say Chase Winovich, the defensive end for Michigan, a guy that people forget about when it comes to Michigan because everybody thinks Rashawn Gary. Winovich put up a good year. Talking about the season, he actually brought up a point that he joked a little bit, probably that Shea Patterson was kind of the one who brought him back because Shea Patterson committed to Michigan shortly after the season ended last year, and then Winovich chose to stay. Obviously, very talented guy. Fifth-year senior, hasn't had a chance to experience beating Ohio State, but, very personable guy and a guy that I think Michigan is going to really need to rely on for have another big season.
I think Michigan's going to be good. Landis, who is your star, other than you can't say yourself?
I was going to say Tim's suit. Look at that thing. God, he's dressed in the nines. There's one new coach in the Big Ten this year, which is kind of strange coming off an offseason where there are like a million coaching changes. There's one new coach, it's Scott Frost, and I think it's easy to pick the new guy, and the new guy always gets the most attention. He reminds me a little bit of Urban Meyer, and I'm not saying he is Urban Meyer. He's not that established yet, but just sort of he's a really smart offensive coach who has a good track record at smaller programs, always coming to resurrect the program that he loves. But even personality-wise, there seems to be a lot of similarities. He's not overly charismatic. He's actually kind of super serious, and I think oftentimes when you find a guy who's super serious and kind of buttoned up, he can be rather boring, but Scott Frost still manages to be that while having a little bit of charisma to him and drawing people to him. He was obviously the right hire for Nebraska and probably the perfect hire. And it was just seeing him in this environment, talking to people, talking about Nebraska football and how much he loves it and how much he loves that state. It was just it was just a reminder, he's the guy. So he was a star.
Scott Frost, the new Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Trace McSorley, the Penn State quarterback. He was the Offensive Player of the Year in our cleveland.com Big Ten poll that we did because the Big Ten doesn't do a poll. Here's what the Big Ten does. They put out a list of 10 players to watch. It's 5, and it's 5 in each division because you wouldn't want to hurt someone's feelings by having 7 in one division and 3 in another. So let's make it all equal, and let's not hurt anyone's feelings. So we do a real poll. And by the way, of the 10 players that were players to watch, only 4 are here. Because God forbid you bring the best players. You got to bring seniors so they can talk about all the guys who aren't here. Anyway, Trace McSorley is the Offensive Player of the Year, and he's a little guy, and everything about Penn State is resting on him. This is a big year for Penn State. They lose Saquon Barkley. Can they still be elite? If you're going to be great, you have to be able to lose great players and still be great. Trace McSorley is really going to determine that. There's Baker Mayfield comparisons out there that I'm going to shoot a hole in later, but I like him. I think he's a good player, and he's got a lot on him this year. Also, I want to mention that Jim Harbaugh, Bill Landis, Tim Bielik, Doug Maurice. We're going to have a bunch more coverage coming from Chicago, Ohio State, Urban Meyer, and 3 players will speak on Tuesday. Make sure you read and watch at cleveland.com.